Challenges faced by fire system designers in ensuring that they design a system which has the correct detection technology, which is sensitive enough to detect real fires, but also is not too sensitive where it generates unwanted nuisance alarms which could be sent to the fire and rescue service. These challenges become more difficult when we look at homes with multiple occupation or even modern assisted living. In these types of premises, we end up with lots of residents living in one building, which can generate a large amount of unwanted alarms being sent to the fire and rescue service. So in this scenario, what we want to show you is an unconfirmed fire alarm from a single flat where someone has burnt the toast and not reset the fire alarm system. Obviously, within this flat we have a local silence button which allows us to silence the local sounder. We're not going to silence the local sounder for this scenario. We're going to allow the system to perform its full unconfirmed alarm, where it will run for up to 5 minutes. At the end of the 5-minute period, the system will do an automatic reset without anyone resetting the fire alarm control panel. I will use a test magnet because it's quicker to use a test magnet. So I'll operate the smoke detector. This puts the detector into fire condition, sets the local sounder off with the flashing beacon on. If we move across to the display, we will see that it's brought the first fire alarm in, and it's also brought the zone light in. What it hasn't done, it hasn't enabled the fire light here, which means that the fire hasn't latched. After a period of 5 minutes, if this fire isn't confirmed, the system will do an automatic reset and then silence itself down. When the system comes to the end of its 5-minute unconfirmed period, then the panel will do an automatic reset. Obviously the panel buzzer will stop, the system will go back to its normal display, and we will also lose the zone LED. So what I want to do this time is do the same scenario again. So flat 1 with some smoke this time. I'll put some smoke into the detector chamber, but I'll keep adding some smoke to make sure the smoke stays in the detector chamber until we come to the end of the confirmed period. The way we've set the system up is we've set it up for a 30-second confirmation time period. Normally that confirmation period would be normally 2-3 minutes confirmation, not as short as 30 seconds. So I'm going to put some test gas in to bring the detector into alarm condition, and it'll go unconfirmed. So now the detector's in an unconfirmed state. If I clear that gas out of the detector, the system will go back to its unconfirmed state and do an auto reset at the end of the 5-minute window. I'm going to add some more gas and some more spray, just so to ensure we've got some gas within the chamber at the end of the 30-second confirmation window. This will give us a confirmed alarm signal, so there's been a build-up of smoke within the flat. We've now got a confirmed fire signal. You'll notice the sound on the flat has now changed. It's now got a different tone to its unconfirmed tone, and the rest of the building has been evacuated. We move across to the fire alarm panel. You'll see that the same zone is in alarm condition, so it tells us zone 1 is in alarm condition, but it also now lights the fire light. With this, we now have to do a manual reset of the fire alarm system. So we silence the system, we have to enable it big, and we do a silence. That will silence the sounder. So we're going to do the same again. So we're going to do an unconfirmed alarm from flat 1, but this time I'm going to show you how we use the local silence button to silence the local alarm within the flat. However, the alarm is still registered at the main control panel. So I'll use the magnet for speed. So again, I've given you an unconfirmed fire condition, got it unconfirmed. The fire test button says fire alarm silence. If we press that button down, that's now silenced the local sounder. The main control panel is still displaying the alarm. It still has the zone in alarm, and we also have the fault buzzer. I'm just going to mute the fault buzzer for the moment. At the end of the 5-minute period, if the fire signal is not confirmed by a second alarm, then the system will again just go and do an automatic reset without anyone else interfering with the system. So in this scenario, what we're going to do in flat 4, where we've got 2 smoke detectors and we have 2 beacons, what we're going to do here is we're going to do an unconfirmed fire alarm signal from one smoke detector, and then I'll do a local silence and silence the alarms within the flat. I'll then do a confirmed fire, which will override and do an evacuation of the whole building. So I'm using the magnet. So I've now brought the first detector into fire condition. As we can see, it's displayed as zone 4 on the panel. It's brought zone 4 LED on, and we've also got the fault light on. I'll just mute the fault. As you'll notice, within the flat, we have the 2 beacons which are flashing. These could be sounder beacons as well, so they would be operating within that flat. If I press the local silence button, that then stops the sounders from sounding or beacons from flashing, and then we know that this is an unconfirmed fire. If I now confirm the fire with the second detector, that overrides the unconfirmed alarm condition. The beacons or sounders now sound within the flat. It evacuates the building. We've still got the zone 4 displayed. We've got zone 4 LED, but we've also got the zone light, which means we have to then put a silence in and silence the sounders. Once we're finished and we've checked, we can then do a reset. The system's now back to its normal state. So if we come back to this local silence button within flat 1, what I'm going to do here is do a fire alarm test. This would constitute a weekly test of the sounder within the flat. If I press the button and hold the button down, it'll operate the sounder and the flashing beacon for the period whilst I hold the button down. Once I release the button, the sounder will stop. What you'll always also notice, on the fire alarm control panel, we also display an auxiliary alarm. That auxiliary alarm gets entered into the control panel log, so then we know if we go back that the client or the resident has actually done a weekly fire test. I'll just release the button, that sounder will stop, and also the auxiliary alarm has now disappeared from the system. So what I'm going to do now, again, in flat 4, again the local silence button, if we know we're going to burn some toast and we don't want to set the sounders off and we don't want to set an alarm condition to the fire control panel, we have the ability to disable the detectors within that zone for a period of time, set at 5 minutes on this control panel. So whilst I haven't got an alarm condition in place, if I press the silence button, the LED is enabled on the button, and if I move across to the fire control panel, you'll see that it brings me through the detectors that have been disabled. Those devices are obviously entered into the fire control panel log. If I come back to the panel now and use my magnet, these detectors won't go into alarm condition. So they won't go into alarm condition. At the end of the 5-minute period, as I said before, the system will automatically re-enable those devices and they are now back into the system. So now the 5 minutes has elapsed, the control panel has gone back to its normal state, the detection in flat 4 has now been re-enabled. However, if there was a genuine fire and say the corridor and we go into full evacuation, sounders in within the flat. So the persons within the flat will still know that there is a genuine alarm and they will need to evacuate the premises. So in this scenario, in flat 3, zone 3, what we want to do is use the Smart 2 detector, which is an optical with thermal, and then we can do an unconfirmed fire event from the optical detector, and then we can do a confirmed fire from the thermal detector within the same detector. This would be as if we had a genuine fire within a flat. So firstly, I'll do an unconfirmed fire. So the beacon is operated. It brings the device in alarm condition. It brings up zone 3, but doesn't latch the fire bar. So we know this is an unconfirmed fire. If I now start adding some heat to that detector, start warming up the detector chamber. The system has now gone into a confirmed fire, and we're now evacuating the whole building. We'll move back across to the control panel. We'll see that we've got zone 3 still illuminated, but we've also got the fire bar and zone 3 text. And now we'll silence the sounders. So what I'm going to do now is do a confirmed fire from a single detector within a corridor. Within the corridor area, we typically don't use type B dependency. We would treat it as it was a standard fire detection system, and we go straight into alarm condition as soon as it receives its alarm. Smoke within the corridor. We're now going to evacuate everyone from the premises, get them out of the building. There's more and more instances now when we can't actually physically get cables within a premises due to asbestos. The cost of removing asbestos may be quite high. And obviously if you've got a care home or assisted living, you then have to move the residents out. So Notifier by Honeywell has our agile wireless gateway with our agile wireless sounders and detection technology. We can use these devices in a type B application as well. So if we take a detector, it's an agile wireless detector, and we operate the detector. So the system's now gone into unconfirmed. So I've brought zone 20 and it gives me the detector. The radio sounder switched on as well. So we're now in an unconfirmed fire state. If we operate a confirmed detector, we can now evacuate the premises if it was confirmed. Hopefully the demonstrations that we provided today with the Pearl control panel and our Type B demonstration board will give you a better understanding of how, by using Notifier by Honeywell with the Pearl control panel, we can help you in your homes of multiple occupation or ward and assisted living to minimise the potential for any false alarms, but while still make sure we detect a real fire in a real scenario.